Welcome, everybody, to another live stream on the Ray Law International channel. I'm your host, Anthony Ray, one of the attorneys here at Ray Law International. Today, we have a hot topic that is really on everyone's mind. With the new administration coming up, there's a lot that's going to be changing, a lot of unknowns, and all that uncertainty has a lot of people concerned, both businesses and individuals alike. So today what we're going to do is talk about a few of those over the next 30 minutes. Now, this is your time. Don't just listen. If you have questions, go ahead and put your questions or concerns in the chat. If you're experiencing something out there, maybe it's your own case that you're having trouble with. Each week we hear or consult with many people and see the struggles they're facing, even now with our current immigration system. It's just going to get more challenging. So a couple things that I would like to highlight as we get started today, sort of our updates and reviews. On a panel of immigration attorneys throughout the nation, throughout the world, a lot of people are concerned and are planning for this new administration. A lot of what some people expect is more of that Buy American, Hire America, or BAHA. You'll hear a lot of that coming up. A lot of corporations that we have talked to and others are looking for alternatives, putting people in Canada or Europe or in Asia for the next 4 years until or if the immigration situation becomes more challenging. Also, this may impact a lot of our L visa holders, intercompany transferees. So whatever visa category you are in, you need to be in touch with a professional. U.S. immigration is not just simply filling out forms and filing it and wishing or hoping that you're going to get the result that you're looking for. It's just not there. And unfortunately, with the new administration, even now, when you make mistakes on your immigration application or the process, that's your future. That's your life. It could be gone forever, unfortunately, because you did not get or you may not have received really good immigration guidance with support and why people feel that way. So, as we get started today, first thing I wanted to note, hopefully we can put this up on the screen. It's about ICE, and everyone is talking about immigration and how, ICE is going to put all these people and deport them all. Just right now, even before the new administration looks to tackle that, put that right back up on the screen. Okay, we're not done. So, ICE is looking at, right now they have 41,500 beds, 200 detention centers. Okay, that's only 41,500 beds. Depending on the estimates, there's like 11 million people who are here illegal, maybe even more, 11 or 14. I usually say 14. But the problem is that big that we don't even have enough to even work, let alone the workers. Also, very keen, look at the wage. This is all from the National Immigration Forum. Feel free to check them out. You can check it out, Instagram or whatever. But each bed is $57,378. When you add that up, we're talking billions of dollars. So when we look to increase enforcement, increase removals or deportation, you have to remember that there is a cost to all of this. Whether you have the states do it, as we'll talk about, or whether you have the federal government do it. Even if you have the military do it, there is a cost. Do we sacrifice our own country's defense so that we can deport people from our country? These are all the decisions that the administration will need to make when they talk about how they're going to approach immigration over the next 4 years. So what I wanted to highlight, one of the major changes that also came up today, or actually not today, but yesterday, and is going to impact employers, is regarding the new H-1B rule. I want to go over a few highlights in that. So Um, let's pull that up. Let me see if we can. Let me pull that up. Here we go. And this is going to be interesting. The H-1Bs are always a hot topic because we don't have many of them. It's only 85,000 a year. And when we have over 400,000 people or 500,000 people vying for just 85,000 slots, it becomes a hot topic. So the USCIS, or Department of Homeland Security, just put out a notice, actually for today, on the 18th, that they have come up with a new final rule for H-1B visa program. I'm going to highlight just a few of the things that you can expect when this goes into effect. Now, this is going to go into effect from January 27th, 2025, right around the corner, probably just a month away. There's going to be new H-1B forms that are going to be required. The I-129 form is changing. It must be used. So those practitioners out there, be very careful. Make sure you have the latest form if you're filing on or after January 17, 2025. So the first thing we can expect for this new rule is the new rule clarifies the regulatory definition and criteria for the position to be deemed as a specialty occupation. This is key. It really helps us make a decision. It gives more certainty to the process. The rule clarifies that normally does not mean always within the criteria for a specialty occupation. Oftentimes, we'll go to the Department of Labor and they will use the terminology. Normally, this position requires this. That doesn't mean it always requires that. So those are certain languages that the USCIS really used to deny H-1B petitions in the past. The next thing I wanted to highlight on this H-1B reform is that there will be clarification that the petitioner may accept a range of qualifying degree fields as sufficient to qualify for the position, but the required fields must be directly related to the job duties in order for the position to be deemed a specialty occupation. All too often, we would get requests for evidence saying, hey, the job says electrical engineer, but, really the person has, let's say, automotive engineering degree. They're different, and USCIS would say it's not in the Department of Labor's rules that this is a degree that's related to the position. However, we can use, for example, automotive engineering, which would be related to the position, and the USCIS, in this case, Department of Homeland Security, is saying that this is okay. Let's hit a couple more. There's a bunch of things. Feel free to speak with your attorney, speak with us for all the details. But the next one is they're ensuring that the labor condition application, the LCA, supports and properly corresponds with the petition. This has been very key. They're just meaning they're going to look over it, make sure that labor condition application that's required in the H-1B process is going to be related and meets all the requirements. We do this all the time. Shouldn't be an issue. Next, they're going to codify USCIS's authority to conduct on-site visits, clarifying that refusal to comply with the site visits may result in denial or revocation of the petition. Now, how does this work? Basically, the foreign national will have a work location. Let's say they're working at a client site, and USCIS sends out individuals to verify that they are in fact working there. If they're unable to verify or get access to that site, the USCIS is saying that it could in fact deny the H-1B or revoke it. Often in these cases, we'll get what's called an intent to revoke, so that we'll have to provide evidence and show, or hopefully get another chance for them to go out. The site's visit is the reason why we pay, or for employers pay the $500 in order for the USCIS to conduct this. Now, these are not, the on-site visits are not for every H-1B holder. There's just not enough agents, not enough. It's really random, or if the USCIS or Department of State is targeting, they will go and visit those locations. And finally, one of the other things I would like to highlight regarding the H-1B rule um, is that providing that if an H-1B worker will be staffed at a third-party location, meaning that they will be contracted to fill a position for the third party's organization, it is a requirement of that third party and not the petitioner that are most relevant when determining whether the position is a specialty occupation. What does this mean? This means that no matter what the petitioner says or drafts or provides, ultimately it's the third party that's going to show or need to prove that the position being filled requires that position and the requirements for that position. And show that's a specialty occupation. Take, for example, let's say a big bank needs a software engineer to work on some project or program that, third party big bank is going to need to show that, hey, this is the specialty occupation, this is why we need it, and we need evidence. Oftentimes, third party companies are unwilling to provide evidence, but they just have to work together. So all those third party end clients, be more cooperative. You're getting the service from these individuals, and you want to make sure that those individuals, those key individuals that are helping your business grow, stays there. Now, one last two things just as a review. This takes effect January 17th, 2025. And also, there will be a new Form I-129 that must be used from that date. So don't try to, get the new form, start using it today, start it on all your filings. And this new form, of course, will be used as we move into the new H-1B CAP registration season, CAP season. So good luck on that. All right, so let's shift gears to several of the things that we think that we're going to face with the next administration. And there's about 7 or so things that we think we could see as changes in the new administration. I'm going to go over those with you guys right now. This should be a fun discussion. Again, if there are any questions or comments, please feel free to put those in there. We're going to be talking about whether that American dream is still there. It is for a lot of Americans. I mean, right now America is doing fairly well. Not everyone in America is doing well, but they're doing fairly well, and our economy is strong, which is good. However, for those foreign nationals coming over here to start a business, have opportunities, these are the things that may be in jeopardy or limited by some of these policies. We deal with this every day as we sit with, all kinds of employers here in the U.S., foreign employers, U.S. employers, to figure out how to get the key individuals and employees they need in order to work here in the U.S. So the first thing we can expect to see is border security and enforcement. So what can we see underneath at this stage? Go ahead and throw that up there. Let me see. Yep. All right, there we go. So there's 3 points that we can see. We could see an expansion of the physical border wall along the U.S.-Mexican border. Don't think it's likely, but hey, we could see that. We could see increased deployment of technology like surveillance systems, drones, and AI-powered tools for monitoring illegal border crossings. We could see that, but I hear so many stories of people just walking from Tijuana into California with no questions asked. So it's a little mind-boggling whether technology is really going to solve all of our problems. It may help, but it definitely won't stop the flow. Third, we could see enhanced staffing and resources for ICE and CBP. This sounds good, but who's going to work? If is your son or daughter signing up to work for CBP or ICE for the government? All the while, remember the government, we have individuals with the new administration saying, hey, how can we reduce government staff? So there's kind of a conflict. In order to solve or increase our border security enforcement, we need more people. Technology, yes, but you still need people to help run that technology. And so The government's got to figure that out. Do we grow government or do we shrink government? And what does that really look like? We cannot do more enforcement unless we have more people. Let's go to the next one, asylum reform. The asylum reform is what can we expect? Now, I'm going to go over just 2 points on this one. First, we could see stricter criteria for asylum seekers to deter frivolous claims. Now, from our experience, the requirements for asylum are already extremely restrictive anyways, with only from our reading, about 30% of affirmative cases not being approved, okay? Only 30% being approved, okay? We do see a higher approval rate in immigration court, but still, it's a tough road. Plus, in immigration court, you're looking at 3 to 4 years. The affirmative asylum path with the USCIS, for some locations, we're seeing 7 to 8 years. Always check with the Department of State website, Department of Homeland Security website for information on the actual numbers for affirmative and defensive asylum actions. The next thing we could see regarding asylum, we could see a reinstatement of policies like Remain in Mexico, where asylum seekers wait in Mexico while their cases are being processed. Now, remember, I just mentioned these asylum cases can take anywhere from 2 to 8 years. So it'll be interesting how Mexico, the US, and the rest of the world deals with this problem, depending on how what policies the US takes with asylum seekers at the port of entries. Next, let's jump to workforce immigration policies. What can we expect here? Well, there's probably 3 main points of what we can expect here. There could be a push to favor US workers over foreign labor with potential reductions in employment-based visas. Now, I don't think we need to reduce the employment-based visas. I think US employers would happily hire US workers. One, generally speaking, for the professional side of things, hiring a US worker is going to be cheaper than going through a complicated visa process or getting them a green card. Getting visas can be anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000. Getting a green card could be anywhere from $10,000 to $30,000, depending on where you're at and what firm is handling your case. So it's not necessarily cheaper. Now, when we talk about illegal immigration, yeah, they may be cheaper, but how is the government going to monitor that? It's going to be interesting. There is one on point 3 that we'll talk about. The next point would be they could revisit temporary work programs such as the H-1B and TN visas to see if they can impose stricter requirements and compliance. We did see this the last administration when they were in power. They tried to make the H-1B only for the ultra, high wage earners. Making 200 and 300,000, which would disenfranchise smaller mom and pop individuals that may be selected for H-1Bs, but they're hiring someone who's only making 30,000 a year, even though they meet all the requirements. So we'll see what that looks like. They could do that. Finally, they could impose or use a mandatory E-Verify for all employers to ensure that workers are authorized to work in the U.S. Now, there has been a push. This has not gone through. The reason for this is we're the United States. We're not just one country. So each state has control over its employment rules. Therefore, each state can, mandate or require E-Verify or not. So I know the federal government may require E-Verify, but on the state level, it's that whole who controls. Is it the federal government or the state? What powers are with the state and what powers are with the federal government? Here, regarding employment, it usually a lot of it resides with the states. All right, we got a couple more. Are there any questions? I'm glad to see we have a lot of people in the viewing today. Thank you for joining us. Feel free to check out our YouTube channel. We got about 400 plus YouTube videos out there on all the topics, some we're talking about today. If you have specific concerns about your situation or your company or your employees, give us a call. The phone number is going to be put on the screen for you. Send us an email. Our staff would be more than happy to sit down with you, come up with a plan, and figure out how best to move forward. The next topic we're going to hit on, we have just 4 more real quick. The end of birthright citizenship. Now, this is garnered a lot of discussion and in the media, but there may be a movement to reinterpret the 14th Amendment to deny automatic citizenship to children born in the U.S. to undocumented immigrants. When I saw this, it's going to be interesting how they would limit it just to undocumented instead of to everybody. So we'll see what they propose, but at the end, we'll talk about it. We're going to see a lot of litigation on that. I don't see that changing, but we'll see. The next topic, mass deportations and overhaul of the legal immigration system. The new administration may intensify deportations of undocumented immigrants, especially those with criminal records or recent arrivals. We already talked about the challenges with doing that. We'll see what the government does. Maybe they have a secret plan. Next, they may try to significantly reduce family-based immigration categories and focus more on merit-based systems. Canada and many other countries are focused more on merit-based, so what that individual can bring to the U.S. rather than just being related to someone who is here either as a U.S. citizen or a lawful permanent resident or green card holder. And third, we may see an increase of vetting of immigrants and visitors through ideological and national security screenings. So there's more than one way to reduce immigration. It doesn't have to be so overt. They could make the national security screening process even longer or more tedious to make the process longer so that people just give up and don't come. Last administration, they did ban a lot of individuals from various Arabic countries. We hope we will not see that again. All right, moving to the next one, state involvement. We could see the delegation of more immigration enforcement responsibilities to state and local authorities. We'll see if the federal government provides funding for the states and local governments to actually do this work. Giving them the authority is one thing, giving them the funds, the resources, and hiring the people, finding the people to actually do this is yet another story. I am telling people this is just going to take time. Even if you had a new program in place, even if you put it in place, you have to hire the people, train the people, and get them up to the point where they actually can do something that's like 2 or 3 years down the road. Just, you can't wake up and just be an ICE officer and say, give them a gun. There's a lot of training, there's qualifications, there's a lot that goes into the process. These individuals, CBP and ICE, these are well-trained, educated people who are out there protecting our borders. It's got to be done right, okay? Next, we may see the legal backing for states that implement policies targeting undocumented immigrants. So those states that makes it difficult for undocumented immigrants to live in the U.S., those are the ones that are going to probably get favoritism, while those who support or provide some humane support to these individuals are probably going to somehow be punished. We'll see how that works out. Next, and finally, if there are any questions, I think we're really close. We're on time. Where are we? Okay, so the next one is the termination of DACA. Dreamers out there, be fearful. The new administration is on the is just on the path to make life difficult for all people who are not U.S. citizens and green card holders. We may see the new administration try to end the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrival, or DACA program, removing protection to Dreamers unless Congress takes action. Everyone has been waiting on Congress to take some form of action in order to provide some path of citizenship. Congress just hasn't done anything. It does not have the will. There have been some proposals in the past, but nothing has passed. So the problem still remains. I think the last time, I think it was about 600,000, maybe four or 600,000 DACA holders who have been here for, I don't know, well over decades, 10, 15 years, however long it's been. I mean, they have families, they're doctors, lawyers, construction managers. I mean, we've seen so many people who are adding, they already have roots here. To pull that out is going to be, of course, arbitrary and capricious. So we're going to see legal challenges if they try to remove that. However, it could be something. So stay tuned. Let's see what they try to do. So these proposed measures will face substantial legal, logistical, and political hurdles. Okay. Some of the critics argue that many of these policies could harm businesses and separate families and erode the country's immigration-friendly legacy. Advocates assert that the reforms are necessary to restore law and order to prioritize U.S. citizens' economic interests. When we look at the rest of the world, the U.S. is doing economically really good. Those people who are not in good situations, there is training to get into new AI positions. So, we have opportunities here in the U.S. to increase and do things different. Not easy, but there are changes. All right. So, as I wrap up, I just want to say, what changes do you think are going to take place? What changes do you want to see take place, but we haven't discussed today? Voice your opinion here in our chats, or more importantly, voice your opinion to your congressional representative, those in the Senate and in the House. Stay tuned as we help you navigate this new immigration journey we are all about to take together. Until next time, stay informed, stay educated, and stay on the right immigration path. See ya.